Do you know the scumbling technique in watercolors? This is a very useful technique if you want to give a very light textured finish to your painted area. At the same time, keep it smooth and even throughout the painted area. I am 𝐤𝐭𝐤𝐨𝐵, a watercolor artist and mentor, and in this video, I'll help you to understand how to use scumbling technique in your watercolor painting. Let's see how to do it the right way and how to avoid mistakes in this technique. This is a technique which is belonging to the wet on dry category of techniques in watercolors. You can choose any color you want. To this paint, you can add water and create a mixture. I'm using a filler to add water. You can even use your brush to add water to your paint and create a mixture. You don't want it to be too thick, so I'm adding a little bit more water to it. And take a small brush and do the mixing. It's always a good idea to have your color mixed and kept ready instead of doing it at the time of painting, especially if you're a beginner. This will help you to get time and not to lose time while you are doing some technique, because in watercolors it is important to keep the wetness level, maintaining the wetness level throughout the painting process. And here I have taken a brush which is of size 8, round brush, a normal round brush. This is quite a medium size brush. So let's see how to do the scumbling technique. For doing the scumbling technique, we use a motion like this kind of a motion, a circular motion with the brush, and then cover an area. Let's see that. So here I'll dip my brush in the paint, come back to this area and start painting. So you can watch how my brush is moving. This is the scumbling technique. Again, dip your brush and continue to do that. One thing that you need to take care of while doing this technique is to maintain enough moisture in this painting area. You see that here there is enough moisture, and then the extra paint I'm pulling down to the next area that I'm going to paint. Again, dipping my brush when my brush is getting dry. Dipping my brush again and continuing this process. See, here there is still paint left. So I am taking this paint with my brush to the rest of the area. When it is starting to dry, again dip your brush in the paint mixture and get it completed. This is how you do scumbling technique. Something that you need to take care of while doing this technique is the size of the brush. So we did this area with a smaller size of brush because we were covering only a small area. Now if I want to cover a large area, I'll take a larger brush. So this is called a mop brush, which is made of natural hair and it can hold a lot of water and paint. So I'm taking this brush to cover a larger area with the same technique. So my brush movement will not change, it's the same thing, but I'll have a lot of paint in my brush. So with this, I'm starting off from here and using the same brush movement, the circular motion, I'm moving the paint. Whenever I feel my brush is drying, I can dip again and bring more paint back to the paper and then go back in the reverse direction. Again, come back, pull the paint and do it in the opposite direction. I am taking more paint in my brush, and whenever I'm doing, my brush is touching the border of the earlier painted area. See? I'm touching the paint whenever my brush is feeling dry and going back in the same direction. In this manner, you can cover a large area if you want with larger brushes. Okay. Finally, if there is anything extra, you can take it off and you can dry your brush with a tissue paper and then you can take it off, anything extra that is remaining here. So here's a tissue paper you can dab your brush here and take off the extra paint that is left here. This is how you complete a scumbling technique. You see that this, when it dries, you can see here in this area, this is not quite smooth. Though from far away it looks smooth, let me show you how it looks. This has some sort of texture here, right? In this area, there is some sort of texture here. In the same manner, this one will also look quite textured kind of finish after it dries. Now let's see how to avoid mistakes while doing this technique. Even when you're doing this scumbling technique, if you overdo it and touch the area which is already painted, then it can get ruined. I'll show you how it is. Say you are painting this area. You're using the scumbling technique and you continue to paint this area. You're doing it all well, going down, dragging it in the proper manner and coming back, again doing it. So what happens is, the area that you painted already, that is this area, is starting to dry, whereas you are continuing to paint the area at the bottom which is still wet. Now you think that, oh, I have to do some correction here, and then you go back and touch that area. For example, here I am making a mistake. Okay, I am going to correct it. So this can actually create a problem, especially if you have dipped your brush in water. Say suppose in between you dipped your brush in water to clean it, and then you think, oh, I need to correct something here. What can I do? Let me go and correct it. So what you will do, you'll take your brush and try to correct something here. Immediately this will get ruined. See, a bloom kind of effect is formed. Why? Because there is a lot of water in your brush and that water is flowing into this painted area which is creating this bloom. This water flowing from this brush into this painted area, it will push all those paint particles to the sides and create this kind of bloom. This is one possible mistake that you can make while doing this scumbling technique. Another mistake that you can do while doing the scumbling technique is you are not dipping your brush too often to fill it when it gets dry. Let me show you how that happens. Suppose you are painting this area and there is a lot of water here. You can see that there is a lot of water here, right? Water and paint. And then I'm continuing to paint. And then again coming back, I'm using the same paint here without dipping my brush back in the paint to refill. You think that, oh yeah, here again I have enough paint, why not I use that? And moving back to this area, coming back, continue doing it, and you're not touching the paint. Okay. So what happens after some time, this will be dry and you will not get a good result. See, now this is starting to dry and still you're following the same process. Now this is too late. This is already very dry now. See, I haven't dipped my brush. Now if I start painting after dipping my brush, this can create some problems. Let's see when it dries how it will look. I'm again dipping paint, doing it, but then some areas I'm not dipping my brush enough. See here, I'm keeping on painting it without taking and refilling my brush with paint. So if the wetness level is not evenly maintained while you're doing this technique, this kind of patch can be formed. See, this looks patchy. This doesn't look smooth. Whereas see here, this is looking smooth and textured, right? There is some sort of texture here. It's not a very smooth result, but some sort of texture. That's the purpose of having the scumbling technique. But here what happened? A patch is formed because you did not maintain the wetness level throughout doing this technique.